Welcome to the source. The source. Source. Hey, get the source.
Hey, happy Monday to everybody. For the first time, I think we're also streaming to Instagram, but it looks like that you can't even see the whole screen. It's like the wrong dimensions here. Is that what it looks? Hold on, I just want to see how it looks on Instagram first. You can't even see the screen, Instagram. This is stupid. Is it vertical, Andy? Andy? Yeah, you can't see shit. All right, I'm axing Instagram. Stupid platform. I'll figure that out. We're gonna figure out a way.
Maybe the camera ratio screwed up because of the weather in your house.
Well,
maybe that's what.
The weather.
Couldn't agree more.
The weather's fine in the house.
Unbelievable.
There's got to be a way to stream a 1920 1080 video to Instagram Live. It has to be a way. I'm going to have a word with some people after the show. But if you were one of the people that joined on Instagram, sorry. Maybe tomorrow. So anyway, we got 4 NBA games. We got Monday Night Football coming off an NFL Sunday that did not go my way. Wasn't a great day. Did get a few dollars back in the later window. Wasn't nearly enough to recuperate the losses from the 1 o'clock window. Specifically, Kirk Cousins. I don't know if I'll ever look at him the same. That was one of the worst performances we've seen from a quarterback. I mean, the Falcons defense played great. Cousins was terrible. Man, the Falcons defense gift wrapped a win for Atlanta, and Kirk Cousins couldn't even open the gift wrap. But anyway, we got 4 NBA games. We got a Monday Night Football. Then we got a couple college basketball. Toast insisted on talking about. He's actually got a big bet down tonight, Toast. I might tail him. But all right. Pelicans, Hawks in Atlanta. Which of you fine gentlemen would like to bat lead off here?
You want me to start it off? Okay. Yeah, there's not a ton to mine out of this. I mean, New Orleans ended up getting just completely smacked around in the Garden yesterday. That was over in like the first 5 minutes of the game. You're going to get a lot of guys that should be full goes here, but Brandon Ingram questionable, Herb Jones doubtful. He's getting closer, so I mean that'll be huge defensive relief that they absolutely need. But Trey Murphy is playing on this back-to-back. He's off the injury report. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Overall, though, there's only one play, and one play we really need to discuss. It comes from my buddy Danny, DK DFS, and we just continue to ride the Jalen Johnson train. The guy's been an absolute print fest in just about every single capacity here. We're going to be going to the points plus assists. That just tends to be the one that ends up being a print fest. It is still not listed, though. There's so many plays today that we're looking for that I want to have access to. We're going to be talking about Boston here in a second, and I think there's tons of props to mine out of that. But know that anything up to 25 and a half, I would be firing at minus 115 or better on 25 and a half here for Jalen Johnson. The guy's a wagon. This is just an absurd run that he's on. Continues to get it done on both sides of the court here. The Duke grad, he went there for a hot second, like a cup of coffee. But Jalen Johnson is just outperforming expectations. They're running a couple in a row here now, and he's playing high 30s minutes in every competitive spot. Looked amazing against Cleveland and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen there in that front court. He's efficient on the offensive end. He's creating on the offensive end, and this Atlanta team continues to play with crazy amount of pace. Now, I'm number 1 in pace in the entire NBA, so Jalen Johnson averaging 25 and a half, getting up against a Pelicans team that, should reduce the pace, but they're still missing Herb Jones. Defensively, they have nothing. I hope Brandon Ingram's actually in for the sake of this game staying somewhat closer, but if it ends up being a blowout, a lot of the reason, Jalen Johnson's a wagon.
So Jalen Johnson over points and assists. He's a wagon, Lindy says.
He's a wagon.
Chris, any thoughts on this game? We got a real good one here.
Not at all. I agree with Lindy. I was looking at Jalen Johnson points plus assists as well. He's actually covered 9 of the last 10. So I definitely agree with that. If you watching the Pelicans play recently, it's hard to put your hard-earned money on them. Like Lindy said, they didn't even show up in New York yesterday. They never even got off the plane. They were down by, I think they had 27 points at halftime yesterday. It was really, really bad. The Knicks actually haven't even been playing that great as of late. They struggled against Charlotte without LaMelo the other day. So no way I could go near them. But at the same time, like I was looking into Atlanta laying, just 7.5 points or more. It's been like more than a year since Atlanta has laid this many points. So I don't want to do that either. I didn't play the game. If I had to, Kyle, I think I would just take under. If you look at the Pelicans offense, it's been really, really bad. Like I don't think that it's just magically going to get better. I know Atlanta has been playing pretty fast. I don't think it's going to get better that quickly. On the full season, 29th in points per 100 possessions scored. Last 5 games, they're the worst at 20. Well, I'm sorry, second worst effective field goal shooting team. And the problem, if you're going to beat Atlanta, you're going to have to be able to knock down the 3-point shot. And they can't do that either. They're bottom 3 in 3-point shooting as well. That's the Atlanta discrepancy. I think Atlanta being rested in this spot, all signs kind of point to them, Cal. I still can't get there with laying this number with the Atlanta Hawks, though. So it'd be under or nothing for me, just thinking that the Pelicans continue to struggle offensively here.
And I was looking, so I have my game logs open. I'm getting back into the NBA as of today. I'm getting my spreadsheet updated. And Pelicans, since November, this is crazy, since November 8th, they've played 12 basketball games. They've posted 1 game with an effective field goal percentage above 52%. So we're talking about 11 out of 12 severely below average offensive efforts here. This offense is terrible. And are my eyes deceiving me here, or are the Hawks starting to play a little bit of defense as of late? I haven't been watching. They have?
Yeah, well, more minutes for DeAndre Hunter and Dyson Daniels. I mean, Hunter was getting ramped up from the beginning of the year, and both of those guys, I mean, Dyson Daniels, what an absolute diamond in the rough Aladdin style that they found with this guy. I mean, what the fudge? I mean, just continues to find ways to be effective. He's a pure thief out there in passing lanes. When you're watching him play ball, nothing excites me more than a guy who just kind of understands his role, understands that Trae Young's going to have the ball in his hands a lot on the offensive end, makes himself available to get open, and then just hustles on the defensive end. I love those kind of guys, those character guys. And Dyson Daniels, he's like the best version of that for Atlanta.
Yeah, so I probably can get on board based on that the Hawks starting to play some defense with kind of a combination of what Chris said, maybe a Pelicans team total under here. I could see. The Pelicans' offense have been terrible. Hawks have actually been playing significantly better defense in the last handful of games than they had been early in the season. Maybe Pelicans team total under. Let's move on to the next game.
110.5, Cal, and they haven't scored that many points on the road this season. They're actually 0-11 to the number.
Yeah, the only thing that would screw me there would be the potential pace. But yeah, the Pelicans team total under, I can get with that.
I have it at 110 on the dot for what it's worth, but I might have to rerun stuff with Brandon Ingram off. I mean, if you bet that now and you get Ingram out, you're looking really good.
Okay. All right. Miami. Boston. Aren't the Celtics missing a bunch of pieces? Did I see that properly?
It's an insane injury report. I'll break it down for you super quick before I'll let Chris talk first. But Derek White questionable, Jaylen Brown questionable, Jason Tatum questionable. Those 3 kind of matter. Already ruled out Al Horford, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis.
Wow. Just all I have to say is wow. Chris?
Yeah, are
you sick? You're sick, aren't you?
I'm not feeling the greatest, but my handicap for the game is questionable, along with the injury report for Boston here. Who knows what to do with this game? I will say this. The Miami is playing 5th game in 7 nights. That's typically a dead flat travel spot. And I know Jimmy Butler already got ruled out. I think it was an ankle injury that he rolled. Kevin Love is not going to be in there. Same thing with Richardson. Jovic is out. Like I think under is the best play. Like I could see Boston even though they will be without a couple guys. I could see them really locking up defensively. Miami can struggle to score the basketball. We know that they're not a very efficient offense this season, and I think you kind of that's typically a spot where you run out of gas. So I would play under. The total has like dumped all the way down. This opened at like 224.5. So another game where yesterday we saw like 12 overs out of 10 games. I think this would be an under spot, back-to-back unders in this game, just depending on situational injury report in this one.
Got it. Lindy, your thoughts?
You should immediately, whenever these numbers drop, just bet Peyton Pritchard points. You should probably be looking at laddering it immediately. These are the kind of things where it's hard to give a lot of analysis. I'm on board with Chris. This is incredible just hearing him say, like, my entire handicap is questionable because, I mean, this is just a stay away number. You saw the tea leaves from yesterday in two separate spots. The Lakers with their injury report looked a little bit weird to me, resting some guys or out with illness, which you can kind of drop if you're an NBA team at any point in time that you want to. Because what are they going to say? Oh, I don't feel good. And then you just don't play. That's your workaround for having it be scheduled rest. Also, when you have guys like Jaylen Brown sitting out the front end of a back-to-back, I do think Brown probably ends up in here, but I don't know what to make of the Derek White piece, because this is the one that I'm kind of going back and forth about how I want to look at the handicap of this game, because obviously he's been one of the better two-way players in the NBA, him and Drew Holiday, for the last 2 years, basically. Even go back to the tail end of his Spurs tenure. I really liked a lot of what Derek White brought to the floor. But Peyton Pritchard is just all gas, no brakes. And you look at some of his rates with Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday off the floor, 232 minutes, 35.1% three-point percentage, but nothing crazy there. Only an 18.9% usage. If you get Derek White out, that is going to go north of 22%. If you get either Tatum or Brown out, it goes north of 25%. It just becomes like this elevator scale for Peyton Pritchard. And obviously the minutes are going to come with it, because they don't really have other guys to go to. Jaden Springer will have to play minutes. Drew Peterson, who got dusted off yesterday for the first time, 7 minutes without those guys on the floor. Congratulations to him for joining that rotation. But I think this is just going to be as soon as the numbers open, you blindly take like 20 plus alts and just sit there and hope a lot of news works your way, because Peyton Pritchard is live for 30. I mean, there's so many ways that as soon as his numbers show up, you're in a very advantageous spot. Again, it's really hard to give analysis on, but I can tell you more times than not, when you blindly back these guys who step into way more minutes and a much larger usage role, you are in a great spot at opening numbers.
And one thing you have to say, if you've watched Celtics basketball, one thing you have to say about Peyton Pritchard, the man is not scared to take the shot. I mean, this dude will launch. He'll miss 8 in a row and still have no hezzy. Launch the ninth one. He doesn't care.
Confidence has never been more through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, I always say he's the only player on the Celtics that I respect that has any heart, is Peyton Pritchard.
I'll put it this way. I think this is probably a better way to do it. I broke it up in Add More Funds, which I use every single day, just in terms of on-off court numbers. I think it's the cleanest way to go about it. But Peyton Pritchard, again, 232 minutes without those guys, 19% usage rate. If you put him at 28 minutes right now, which I think is probably on the safe side of things when you don't have Drew Holiday already out for this one, I think you're looking around a 15.5-point projection right from jump. So if you're looking at 15 plus points, minus 110, joke of a number. 20 plus, you're looking at about plus 160, plus 155 adjusted. So like, I think you're going to get something really nice at the opening number. I mean, I'm just kind of like got FanDuel up in the corner and just waiting for that number to drop. But I think there are very few ways that you wouldn't want to be invested in Peyton Pritchard in this game.
Got it. Let's move along to the next game. And I pulled up the game logs while these guys were talking for the next one. It's Lakers T-Wolves. I know 219 is not the biggest number, but I don't even know how it gets there. You got these two teams, both been playing slower pace, both struggling offensively. The Lakers, not a ton of volume as far as three-point shooting. The offensive efficiency, not great in most of their recent games. They have no presence on the offensive glass. And they're matched up against Minnesota, who, granted, maybe not playing the best defense, but they're a solid defensive rebounding team. They also defend the perimeter well. So, I mean, I don't see where the points are coming from for the Lakers. And Minnesota's offense, like we've been talking about, I mean, it's broken. The last 5 games, terrible-looking offensive numbers here. So, how does this number get to 219.5, Chris? Are you on the under? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, this will be another under spot for me, guys. The other thing about this game.
One.
Yeah, the other thing about this game, Cal, is teams tend to run out of gas 5th game in 7 nights. I kind of talked about it. We got 2 teams in 5th game in 7 nights, and that's the spot for the Lakers. Traveling out of altitude from Utah yesterday, where you should go in Utah and like clean them up. They were like laying, I think 6.5, 7. Hopefully nobody took that bait. They won the game by 1 point. LeBron James shot 0 for 30 from the 3-point line. So now traveling out of altitude, I think the Lakers run out of gas in this spot, Cal. I could see a spot where the Lakers team total specifically stays under. I think that would probably be the best way to play this game. Like you said, it's no real 3-point shooting. I know it's some guys that's potentially coming back that didn't play yesterday. The Lakers injury list is longer than Boston's, and And the other games that we talked about combined with Anthony Davis listed as game time decision. Austin Reeves and Cam Reddish didn't play yesterday. Jackson Hayes continues to be out. So, yeah. And I kind of feel like this could be a spot where LeBron rests. And this line opened at 4.5, 5. So we'll see what happens. But even with the number dropping as low as it has, Scott would be the only play in this game. Potential, like I said, Lakers team total under in this spot as well. The number right now is pretty low at 106.5. But like I said, Lakers probably run out of gas 5th game in 7 nights.
I'm looking at the Minnesota recent offensive numbers, though, and I don't even know if I want to isolate it to the Lakers because Minnesota, I mean, offensive rating, 97.9 in the last game, 104, 104.7. They did put up a decent offensive rating against Boston, but then before that, 107 against Toronto. So I don't trust Minnesota either to contribute, so I like this one. Lindy? I liked your response in the chat. Had me laughing, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I try to just torch a fool whenever I can. It's enjoyable, and I really cannot tell you enough how much pleasure it brings me on a random Monday afternoon.
I get off on it myself.
It feels delicious. Anyway, very much looking at Minnesota being a brutal back at the moment, but I don't really care. I jumped on 4.5 last night. Again, it's hard for me to just sit here and say, hey, lay 7.5 on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 7th in adjusted offensive rating, 7th in adjusted defensive rating this season, which is subpar by their metrics. 112.3 adjusted offensive rating here in my model, and tough to back them. But yet at 4.5, I had to blindly play it. They played at altitude yesterday at Utah. Ended up playing a much more competitive game than you'd expect against Utah. Obviously, they did not cover that number. 39 minutes for Anthony Davis, 40 for Rui Hachimura, who just got back into the fray. LeBron James, 36 there. I thought this was pretty clear-cut that they were going to rest Austin Reeves in some left pelvic contusion. If he doesn't play, obviously that's a grade up because then you're getting more minutes for D'Angelo Russell and a revenge spot for him. Cam Reddish questionable. But I think there's a very live chance that you get one of the two main studs resting here in this spot, and here's why. Look at the schedule coming up here for the Los Angeles Lakers. Right now, you got them on the road in Minnesota, coming off of Utah yesterday at altitude. Then they go to Miami in 2 days. Then they go to Atlanta 2 days after that. Then they play one game quickly at Portland or at home against Portland. And then they go back on the road to face Sacramento twice in Sacramento. They have 6 of 7 on the road here over the course of this stretch. This feels like a clear kind of like if you wanted to give 1 day off to LeBron, you do it against Minnesota. I suppose you could also say, you could push him for one more day and then take him on there. But I thought the number was a little bit short at 4.5. I do not like the basketball my Minnesota Timberwolves have played for the last couple of weeks. Again, very inefficient on the offensive end, getting absolutely nothing from Dante DiVincenzo. Julius Randle has been an offensive downgrade of massive proportions based on what we've seen from Cat so far this season for the Knicks. I still think if you had jumped on 4.5, you're looking at a phenomenal piece of value. 7.5 would be the lean now, but it's really hard to encourage people to jump onto that. That was my one main spread bet of the day.
All right, Minnesota.
Real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, can I just add? I did play Anthony Edwards threes in this spot over 3.5. The Lakers defense has been atrocious from the 3-point line. Anthony Edwards has hit this number in 79% of games. The first time he played the Lakers, he hit 5. So he's religiously going up and over. Lakers 3-point defense is pretty bad, and I think they run out of gas in the spot.
So that's 3+, or is that over 3.5?
Over 3.5. So he got to hit 4.
Over 3.5.
Don't look now. He's actually leading the league in 3-point shooting.
Anthony Edwards is. How do you like that? How do you like that? And Lindy, you said you got Minnesota at 4.5. Maybe
different.
I didn't put it up because I assumed 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. I mean, that's a crossover.
It's a world of difference. The one thing I am paying attention to on the Lakers side, for what it's worth, Dalton Connect. I think he walks into potentially more minutes. They talked about him wanting him to be starting for this team. JJ Redick talked about it pretty at depth. They ended up starting him, and then they go back to Rui Hachimura. Yesterday, he ends up playing 40 minutes in that spot. Again, it felt like they were trying to do some precautionary things on the front end of the back-to-back. Again, you still had Dalton Connect in that starting unit. It's just a question of what happens here with Austin Reeves. You could talk me into any kind of like 3.5, 4.5 type numbers here, 4.5 plus money now. But Dalton Connect, the jury's out. I mean, it started to get a little bit more efficient here. I could still see a little bit of value if you're looking for something from this game, but yeah, I'm probably off of it now. Just going to be riding the 4.5 ticket.
I'm going to take Lakers team total under, by the way. Let me switch from under 219 because I like a lot. A lot. What Lindy was saying was resonating with me, and I'm on the By the way, the Odd Shopper team total page, excellent addition. You guys did. I use that multiple times a day.
I wonder who it was who said we needed to have that ASAP.
Yeah. The team total page is mint.
I'm glad you like it. Good.
Yeah.
Glad you like it.
So yeah, Lakers team total under 105.5. I'm writing that down. I'm gonna bet that. I'm gonna post it. I'm on it. All right, cool. What's next? Nets Bulls. Gotta be with the current state of the Nets. I might be down to lay 7.5, 8. I mean, the Nets. I'm looking at the game logs here for the Nets, and they actually did play a good defensive game against Orlando in the second game against Orlando. But before that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games in a row with a below. Actually, 8 out of the 9 previous games below average defensive rating. So the Nets defense seems to be trending the wrong direction here. On the road in Chicago, that's going to run super fast. They could score. I might be down to lay 7.5 here, but I didn't handicap the game or anything. I'm all ears.
Yeah, that's the way I would look too, Kyle. I didn't bet it, but it's outside of like the injury report, which has to be mentioned. Cam Johnson. So the Bulls are like second leg of back to back. I'm not the Bulls. I'm sorry, Nets. Second leg of back to back with travel. The Bulls been chilling. I think they got like 3 days off in this spot, so that's already a major advantage here. I think this line opened at 5.5, and the money's coming. It's crazy to be thinking about laying points with the Bulls, but they've been covering recently. They went into Washington. I said, no way I'm laying 5.5 points. They won that game by 20. You do got Kobe White listed as questionable, which I feel like he's needed for offense. But yeah, the Brooklyn Nets are a scrappy team. They're very, very feisty. But I do think that they run out of gas here in this spot as well. Cam Thomas is now out. He's going to be out for quite a while. I think Zaire Williams is also out. Ben Simmons doesn't play back-to-backs. Dorian Finney-Smith is out. So, yeah, this is another game. I'm crazy to think with the Bulls, how fast they play. I would lean under. And I would also – just because I think the Nets have to play slower. And the only thing the Nets do really, really well offensively is shoot a bunch of threes. But if Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas aren't out there, I think that they could struggle from that perspective. So I would look towards the under in this game as well. And Chicago.
I was not expecting under there because I think the Bulls could score 130 by themselves. But, I mean, you could put up Bulls for me. Right? You know what? I'm going to write this one down. Now, I don't know if the Lakers team total under, I'm going to bet. I don't know about this one. Lindy, could you co-sign a Bulls minus 7.5 for now?
Nah, I'd be on the Brooklyn side here at plus 7.5 for sure. I'd be on the opposite side of this one. Again, this just comes down to we've seen this Brooklyn Nets bench go out and be scrappy, and a couple of unexpected wins on the road on the West Coast. Took on Golden State, beat them up in a fourth quarter with Keon Johnson at the helm. What a time to be alive! But I'm with the idea of Chicago just purely because, like, you look at how depleted this lineup is. Cam Thomas. But again, you're talking about an inefficient volume scorer. You're talking about Ben Simmons, who really has struggles on the offensive end. Dorian Finney-Smith, not exactly knocking down threes at any kind of a clip. And Noah Clowney, I do get a little bit concerned as far as that matchup with Vooch here. And you know, there's some sharp people that I know that are looking at Vooch threes today. I have no idea what to make of that, but something to at least look into a little bit further. I haven't looked into it myself, but the big one for me is Cam Johnson. He said he was going to play yesterday on this back-to-back, which was a little bit surprising to me. And with him in, we're talking about the one guy that I kind of trust to offensively provide any kind of a spark for them. But my favorite play from this one is actually more to do with like a market-based approach. And you can kind of combine this with your projections. And I have them projected at 11.5. But then I went around the industry and I see a lot of 11.5s minus 132. It's Dennis Schroeder, 10.5 rebounds plus assists. And the more you look into it, the more it makes sense. One, you're taking a guy who rebounds and assists. That's exactly what you get from Ben Simmons on the floor. Both rates take a big spike here for Dennis Schroeder. Second off, you're getting a weird number at BetMGM. If you're not limited over there, minus 125 relative to 11.5 minus 132 at FanDuel, 11.5 minus 125 at DK. You get a full rebound or / assist difference between the two. This is just kind of the best of both worlds when the projection and the market-based approach kind of combine. These are my favorite type of plays in the NBA because you can't explicitly look at one side of the coin and say that it's correct just because there's one low-hanging piece of fruit at one book. So I think that this is my favorite kind of plays. So Dennis Schroeder, this is probably my most confident play at the current numbers across the board right now.
Dennis Schroeder over 10.5 rebounds and assists.
Yep.
So, all right, screw it. I'll tail.
Yes.
There you go.
My guy.
Over 10
Can't wait for him to score 30 with nothing on the back end. That'll be lovely for me.
Yeah, if this doesn't hit, I'll be sure to send an angry
Plus,
tweet.
we love posting each other's tickets like into the little chat and just tilting our faces off. So can't wait to see you later tonight. It'll be great.
All right, we're gonna move on to Monday Night Football. Chris, see you tomorrow, man. Feel better. Lindy, you're sticking around for football, right?
Yeah, I'll talk a little football quick. Have a good one, Chris.
You, fellas. Best of luck tonight.
All right,
You too, bud.
All right, Broncos, Browns. I do have. I actually have 3 bets open on the game, and if you watch the video uploaded, you already know what they are. But I just spread. None of them are huge. I just spread my money out, put it 3 different places. They're all kind of correlated. So, Proppy was going to set the screen up. Browns, Broncos. So the way if we're looking at Jameis Winston's matchup here against Denver's defense, there's really 2 ways to take this. There's going to be opportunities for him to make big throws here. I mean, the Denver runs a lot of cover 1. They run a lot of man coverage, and Jameis Winston has phenomenal numbers against those coverages. In fact, he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL against cover 1 and against man coverage. So you could look at that and immediately be like, Jameis is about to go off. And I wouldn't even say you're wrong, really, because he does have excellent numbers against those coverages. But here's where I really get worried for Jameis Winston in this matchup is since he's taken over as the starting quarterback, he saw the Steelers, which obviously have arguably the best pass rush in the NFL. That was in that weird snow game, and it's just a weird data point where I'm not really sure what to take away from that game. If you take that one out, the Saints, the Chargers that were missing Bosa and Mack, I think, or they were missing one of them. They've both been banged up. The Chargers don't have much of a pass rush. Ravens don't have much of a pass rush. So this game on the road in Denver, in terms of seeing a pass rush, it's going to be his toughest test. Obviously the Steelers, but in that weird snow, that whole game's just weird. So this is going to be a serious test, this Broncos pass rush. The Broncos are second in blitz rate. They're 6th or 7th in pressure rate. They're second in adjusted sack rate. This Broncos team can get to the quarterback. So really worry about Jameis Winston against the Broncos defensive front of the Broncos pass rush. Jameis Winston, when pressured, if you watched the video last night, you know where I'm about to go with this. He has solid yards per attempt, solid pass rating. He can make some throws and make some plays when pressured, which is nice. But pressure to sack rate, turnover-worthy play rate. When you put pressure on this guy, it's a ticking time bomb. He either takes a sack or he puts the ball in harm's way. We saw in that Baltimore game, if you remember, I had Baltimore money line, Baltimore, like it was awesome. But the Ravens dropped 3 interceptions, I think, in that game. I mean, you get pressure on this guy, he's going to give you opportunities to take the ball away. He's going to take bad sacks. That's what he does. I mean, it's Jameis. It's a super high highs, super low lows. So as much as I do think Jameis Winston will have opportunities to make some big throws in this game, I also think, considering Cleveland just hasn't been able to run the ball, they haven't been able to run the ball, and nobody can run the ball in Denver. So I also think if you throw in the added aspect of Cleveland's going to struggle to run, Jameis isn't going to have run support. So Jameis isn't going to have run support. So we're talking about Winston dropping back to pass a lot of times here against this pass rush. I think bad things are going to happen. So my 3 bets are Broncos minus 5.5. Is it 6.5 now?
There's so many different numbers. Again, I'm basically going to be doing like a lean like lock talking through some of this stuff because I think depends on what number you're able to get. I see 6s at minus 115 at Caesars. I see 6.5 at BetMGM, at Hard Rock, Bet Rivers. There was a 5.5 sitting a little bit earlier, juiced way up at minus 122 at FanDuel. It wasn't really worth the half point when you're talking about 6. I suppose with the kickers that we've seen recently, right, with how many missed extra points there are, every point is valuable. Every half point is valuable. But not through a key number by any means. 6 is the best there at minus 115.
Okay, so if you haven't bet it yet and you want to tail the Broncos, at least get a 6. Don't take a 6.5.
Agreed.
So I have Broncos minus 5.5. I have Broncos team total over 23.5. Well, I should probably check to make sure you can still get that as well. 1 second. Broncos, you still can get a 23.5 at minus 120 on DraftKings. Thanks, Odd Chopper. So you can still get a 23.5. And then I also bet the full game total over 42 because this kind of incorporates the the half unit I have in the full game over kind of incorporates the Jameis Winston factor in a sense where maybe he's going to connect on a couple big ones, or he's going to throw a pick six. So I just think Jameis Winston equals points. Whether it's points for Cleveland or points for Denver, we'll have to wait and see. So throwing another bet in on the over is kind of like, that's a Jameis Winston bet. Hey, if he goes off and this turns into a 27-24 game and I lose my Denver -5.5, okay, at least I get my other two. I didn't mention the matchup for Bo Nix. It's not the greatest matchup for him on paper. I mean, he doesn't have great numbers against man coverage like Jameis does. Cleveland, just like Denver, runs a lot of man coverage. But the Browns defense, and I was talking about this yesterday, this is a personal opinion. This is not backed factually. I feel like I trust the Browns defense in those big division games. I trust them against Mike Tomlin. I trust them to show up against Lamar Jackson. I don't really like this defense away from home in a non-division game. They just don't do it for me. In fact, there's been instances where they look like a straight-up bad defense in situations such as that. They've got terrible numbers against the pass in their last 6 games. So, I mean, Cleveland's defense is just not a defense I particularly trust. Thursday night at home against Tomlin, I'm in. Primetime game against Lamar Jackson, I'm in. I can back this Cleveland defense. They'll get up for that. I don't really like it. So I think Denver scores some points here. I even think they're able to run the ball for the first time in a while, too. So those are my bets. Lindy, what are your thoughts?
Your words to God's ears, please. That would be lovely. Javonte Williams, over 34.5 rushing yards, -110 at FanDuel is an absolute smash. We've been on a ridiculously good run here in the old primetime streets. A lot of just smashes here of late, and this is probably my favorite one we've ran into in a while. I get why people are uncomfortable with Javonte Williams. It's a 3-headed backfield there with Audric Esteem, with Jaleel McLaughlin, but we've still seen him dominate touches 8 of the last 9 weeks. We've also seen Javonte Williams in a lot of these game scripts where they're favored really take the helm. The one time that you saw him kind of get ejected on was against Kansas City on the road. And, obviously wanted to get a little bit of a different dimension out there from a passing game perspective, although Javonte's functional in that regard. I guess for me, this is what it comes down to. The Browns, from a mean perspective, giving up over 130 yards per game. From a median perspective, there are only 2 games this season that they haven't allowed the opposing team to go for over 100 yards rushing. And I know Bo Nix can add a little bit with his legs, but that adds a different dimension to this too, where it keeps it pretty straight up. Cleveland, as good as a pass rush as they have with Myles Garrett, they're still not doing a great job against the run. We've seen that against New Orleans. We've seen that 3 of the last 4 weeks, with one glaring omission there where, they did a really good job keeping things in check. Where was that? It just disappeared on me. It was against the Chargers where they kept them 96 yards on the ground. Again, still a pretty relatively nice number when you're talking about Javonte Williams. I project him for the most touches in the backfield. I think most people do. I project him to have a pretty preferable game script. They're 6-point favorites. I'm with you where you're going to get Jekyll and Hyde stuff from Jameis Winston all the time. I'm in love with this number. I mean, this is just absurd. Again, when you have somebody projected for over 50 yards rushing, and you know that from a medium perspective too, you are probably running good in this dimension. Like, I don't see any way around it. This is probably my favorite prop I've run into in the NFL in quite some time.
Favorite prop you've run into in the NFL?
And I hate Javonte Williams for what it's worth. Like, he basically couldn't keep Michael Carter off the field at North Carolina. I mean, that's not a great thing where Michael Carter needs to be your pass down back in North Carolina once upon a time, but it has definitely not come to fruition. He's battled injuries. Obviously, he had the torn ACL in second or third game of whatever that was last season or 2 seasons ago. But Javonte Williams, I think in this spot, it feels like it's already baked in the chance that Sean Payton just says, get off the field, or you get those dink and dunks from Bo Nix that, are basically their running game. I like this, though, a lot for Javonte.
Yeah, and I agree that I think Denver is going to be able to run the ball, even though their run game's been a little shaky as of late. I mean, we saw Cleveland show up against the run in the snow game against Pittsburgh, but the Saints ran the ball all over this Browns defense. I think they're missing that linebacker a lot, Nwosu. I think he's a lot better than he gets credit for, because we've seen them the Ravens game, the Ravens ran all over him, Saints ran all over him. So I'm not sure if this Browns run defense is very good. AJ.
So time for me to go. Did I go 0-9 yesterday? Somebody asked. No, certainly not a great day. Our ladders our ladders were not laddering, folks. Adonai Mitchell, I don't know if he should be in the league. Catching a football, big part of playing the game. I don't know if he knows how to do it yet, so maybe he should definitely look into that. The Moon Man, Kirk Cousins, wow. The whole throwing the football thing wasn't really coming to him yesterday. And then, yeah, we had a couple other bad beats yesterday, but I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. flew over his total. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that we had yesterday. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of blank right now. You put me on the spot, but we had in Thanksgiving with some momentum, and yes, we did have some cash yesterday. I don't know. I mean, we got some 2 plays today we're very excited about. We got Cortland Sutton on the docket here. Last week we faded him, and it was a really ugly spot. He went over, and I was furious. I thought the books were laying a big ass trap, and Cortland Sutton said, fuck your trap. I'm just going to go ahead and keep producing at this insanely high level. Now he has one of the best matchups I think you could possibly put together on paper for him, and I just have to just keep riding with this guy who continues to produce at an insanely high level. So the Cleveland Browns run one high at the second highest rate in the league. He has a 2.67 yards per out run against one high compared to two high at just 1.19. On top of that, his yards per reception is double that against one high. So really nice right there. On top of that, against man, he's responsible for 45% of the team's yards compared to just 24% against zone. That's really important because Cleveland runs man at the 6th highest rate in the league. And you would think that with Denzel Ward, that this is a team that shuts down opposing wide receiver ones. Really hasn't been the case this season. They're allowing the 3rd most yards per game and sit 28th in DVOA against wide receiver ones this season. On top of that, I mean, they've allowed the last 8 to 10 wide receiver ones over their total, 7 to 10 wide receivers over our total at 63.5. In what paces to be a spot for Sutton to see more heavy usage in the pass game. I think we just got to play the over here. If you look, books are pricing Sutton to record 5+ receptions at -190 in 24 games with 5+ receptions. The dude is 20-4 to the over, averaging 83 yards per game at home in these spots. He's 9-1, cashing 9 straight. So I'm gonna just keep riding with Sutton. And then my 2 other plays that I'm riding with here, we have to just keep taking running backs out of the backfield against this Broncos defense, as we did with Amir Abdullah last week, who got a pretty insane price with him. And Bet365, I was able to snag a +180. You could still get +155, which I just think is flat out lunacy. Running backs out of the backfield against the Broncos right now are just doing flat out treacherous things. Let me go ahead and get the numbers real quick. So the Broncos have allowed the last 7 of 8 running backs they faced to record 3+ receptions against them. In the last 5 games, they've allowed 6.6 receptions per game to the running back position. Nick Chubb, excellent pure rusher, never a guy who's been utilized in the pass game. That's where Jerome Ford steps in. We've got the Browns offense in a spot where they're likely going to be in a lot of 3rd and longs. I think the Broncos offense is going to have a lot of success here, as Kyle was alluding to. And I just think that in a spot where we're going to see a positive game script for our prop with passing the ball from behind, running the ball not being an option, he's going to get looks. 2+ receptions for Ford is at -204. This is a guy over 70% of his career games at this number. So to get the 12.5 receiving yards it is at -110 is very affordable if you don't have the receptions. And then to get the receptions at +155, I thought was worth it as well.
So you like Cortland Sutton here?
Sutton and Ford.
I truly think Bo Nix weirdly throwing the ball downfield a lot more than I thought he would this season. He kind of got branded as the dink and dunk guy at Oregon, and then with Sean Payton as a head coach, I myself was guilty as saying this dude's not going to throw the ball downfield. Well, actually, he is. He's pretty efficient with it, so I could see it. All right. Well, that's it. Oh, no, college basketball. Lindy, have a good one, man. Thanks for stopping by. I will tail you on that bet, and I'll be pissed if it doesn't win.
Can't wait. You and all of Twitter and all of chat. And, I should probably go before I say something stupid. Bye.
Later. All right. Next up, the Dark Cloud also tailed it, Jose. Cash God says Jerry Judy's over. All right. Air Force.
Really quickly, would you like to take a second to apologize to your 100,000 subscribers to the Kicker Nation at all?
No, absolutely not.
No?
I will be doing nothing of the sort.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity. People were talking, but that's all right.
People weren't talking about that.
Air Force Miami. Are we really talking about Air Force Miami of Ohio?
Dude, it's a light day. I wanted to explain because I know people are probably looking at these games and they're like, why the hell are they doing this? I would like us to talk college basketball consistently, but this is this is probably the worst day I've seen this year. Although I
It
do
could be
think
the worst day all year.
this is the night game's really good, the Washington State Nevada game. I have a bet in this one, which is why I like this one. I didn't know what Toast had about this one, but I also think it is a pretty competitive game.
You're good. A lot of people I saw in the comments, a lot of people were talking about the Yale game versus Rhode Island. I think it's an absolute coin flip personally. I would take Yale plus the points personally, but again, I wouldn't want to bet it. But yeah, if you have something in this game, absolutely. Let's talk about this one.
I have Air Force. Air Force is, if you don't know, they're actually one of the better offensive teams in the nation so far this year. Granted, the schedule hasn't been exactly the strongest, but they've been shooting pretty well from anywhere on the floor, but they mostly want to shoot threes. And Miami of Ohio has been a disaster against threes. Their opponent's point distribution, they are 35th in three-point percentage. So to that means opponents are scoring a lot of three-pointers on Miami of Ohio. And Air Force is only shooting threes and they're hitting them. The only reason I think that this line is as high as it is at 6.5 is because the game is in Miami of Ohio. That doesn't worry me too much. Air Force shooting doesn't always travel, but I think against a bad defensive team like this, I think it will. Air Force runs a slow pace, one of the slower paces. They're 359th. I think there's 364 teams. So they're one of the slowest teams. They're against Miami of Ohio, who doesn't run the fastest pace either. They're like 162nd. So I think that if Air Force can control this game, I think it'll be low scoring. The total obviously shows that. And I think at 6.5, a low scoring game, even anything, that's a pretty high gap between the teams. So yeah, I like Air Force a lot tonight.
You like Air Force a lot, you said.
A lot.
Yeah, I didn't play Air Force, and the only reason I didn't play it is because I was a little worried about the travel spot. Air Force plays up in that high elevation, but they just got done playing Wright State, and I think that Wright State is a significantly better team than Miami, Ohio, and they were only lost that game by 13, and they were in it pretty much for a while. I mean, they had a bad 20-minute stretch, a bad 10-minute stretch there before halftime and after halftime, but I don't really know how much stock to put in that. The only reason that I didn't play Air Force is because of that travel spot, like Andy talked about, and they really rely on that three ball. They're one of the best three ball shooting teams, as Andy alluded to, in the country. And the only thing that threw me off a little bit is that the free throws. So if this game is close with the low total, again, that Andy talked about, Air Force, one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country. Miami, Ohio, one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. So there's no way I lay it with Miami, but I ended up passing on my Air Force as well.
Yeah, I'm good. If I knew these games were just this shitty, I wouldn't even have stayed on the stream. Next.
I told you yesterday.
I assumed everybody was going to want to, so I didn't want to seem like a slacker.
Personally. I got to bet on this game though. Washington State Air Force over. It's flying over the total. Absolute lock. All right, go ahead, Toast. What do you think? Over.
Yep, I played the over as well.
Oh wow.
You're on the under, I thought.
No, I'm on the over.
Oh, I was trying to.
Yeah, I missed this one.
I know what you were trying to do. It didn't work out. But
Hold on. I think you typed it in wrong in the Discord. Well, let me go
Did
check.
I really?
Did you say under?
Unless I read it wrong.
Over. I made this game at 157. I played it at 156. So if I typed it in wrong, I apologize. Because now I'm going to be pissed off.
No, you typed over. You typed it over. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I played Washington State plus 12.5. I also played the over 146. I think this is more of a 2.5, 3 possession game. So to get Washington State anything over 10 was an automatic bet for me. I know that Washington State lost a lot of talent coming over from last year, including their head coach. But David Riley coached at Eastern Washington. He knows this area very well. Washington State is their first true road game, but at the same time, they played a neutral game versus SMU. They played pretty much an Iowa home game. It wasn't in their home arena, but it was pretty much a home game. They flew across the country for that. So I don't really worry about the travel spot that a lot of other people are talking about in this game. I don't really worry about that. Again, Washington State's also played a top, 150 schedule, 129, excuse excuse me. And I also think that Nevada, as far as the over is concerned, I think that Nevada is going to score. I think they're one of the best offenses in the country. Playing at home, they're the second best 3-point shooting team in the country. Not that Washington State's anything spectacular defending the three, but it has been decent, but I don't think that's going to really matter much with Nevada at home. But Washington State plays a really fast pace. Nevada is going to try to keep this game kind of slower and play through their defense. I just think that you have two teams that are going to be, I think Nevada's going to score pretty easily. And I think that Washington State's a little bit underrated as far as offensively is concerned. Like I said, I had this total, I was going to play this total anything over like 149. So the fact that I made it 156. So the fact that we got it at 146, it was, like I said, it was an automatic to me. Also, another thing that's big for me, I talk about it almost every time I make a bet, free throw shooting, huge. Nevada, one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country. Washington State's a top 150 or whatever free throw shooting team in the country. So the only thing that I worry about with Washington State is the turnovers, but Nevada is not a team that I really worry about forcing a whole bunch of turnovers. That Roslyn kid and that Dusul kid really don't impress me as far as taking the basketball away. So I think that both teams get a lot of possessions here, which is going to come with a lot of points. I think we see 70 plus possessions here, which is something that you don't see typically in Nevada games, but Washington State's playing close to, 81 versus Fresno, 79 versus Eastern Washington, 77 versus Iowa, 81 versus Portland State. They're okay. Washington State's okay with playing these higher possession games. So Washington State plus 12.5 or 11.5 now and over 146.
You said you make this game at 156. You're not worried that it's that far off from where you have it?
No, because some of the games that I've had off I've been dead right on. Some of them I've been dead wrong on. But yeah, I don't really worry. Not yet. We'll see.
Andrew?
I don't think that my bet could be far more opposed. I have the Washington State team total under. You talked about free throw shooting. They're not a bad free throw shooting team, but they're middle of the pack in terms of free throw shooting for Washington State. And that's kind of how they're scoring at this point. They are, or that's how teams are scoring on a lot. That's the only way teams are scoring is pretty much free throw. They're 28th, their point distribution. 25% of their opponents' points are from the free throw line. So they're an average free throw shooting team, 72% on the season. So they're going to miss some. So I don't think it's going to be great there. And then when you look at the pace, I think the home team, the better team with more talent, I think they're going to dictate the pace. They run a slow-ass pace at 280th in pace. So I think it's going to be a crawl. I think it's a total veer off of what Washington State wants to do. So I think it's going to crush them a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to score as much. So I have the team total under. I want to say it was 67.5 at plus 105. Yeah. I just don't think that they're going to be able to play the game that they want to play.
I have a question for you, and I'm kind of talking shit, but kind of not. Do you think how much better do you think Vanderbilt is than Washington State? Like a lot?
Pretty significant.
Really? Okay. Well, that makes sense then. Okay. I don't have them rated as much worse than Washington or much better than Washington State. So that's why I was curious, because I feel like this game is going to be very similar to the Vanderbilt game. That's how I kind of in my head.
Neutral, no?
That was a neutral. Absolutely. It's hard. Yes, absolutely.
I got some Rodfather quotes in here. Bet on Air Force in away or neutral games in the first half. The first half line versus teams who make 8 or more 3-point shots a game on the season. Air Force in those instances 9-1 against the number in the first half. In the other one, bet on Nevada as home favorites of 6.5 to 12 points. Nevada since last year 11-2 against the spread in those instances. Someone said I've bet against the Steelers in all but one of their wins. That's actually not true at all, Brian, but people saying fake shit in the comments isn't weird here.
Lots of libel being spread today.
Yeah, I don't know. That's so I don't understand people who just type fake shit onto the internet. It's got to be the younger generation. If I leave a comment on, like, say, Instagram, or just like leave a comment that turns out to be wrong, like, I couldn't just go about my day. I would comment and be like, dude, I'm an idiot. My bad. Like, people will just leave something that's blatantly false and then just like go about their day with that sitting there with their name on it. Like, yo, everyone can see that.
Somebody said it's literally in the laundry room. That boy washed. Jesus, dude.
Does that mean you're bad?
Look, college football was terrible for me this year. Got off to an awful start. I had a terrible Saturday too. I don't want to brag. I've been very good in college basketball. I'm knock on wood. I hope it continues. I had one losing day in Feast Week, and it was because I had one bet and it didn't win. So for college basketball, I've been pretty good so far. Hopefully it continues. But that boy washed. If you want to talk about on football, conference championship day on Saturday, if you want to call me washed, fine.
I got another a Rod Father quote that goes against you, Toes. Bet the under in Washington State games as an underdog. Washington State as a dog, 11-2 to the under. Wow. Wow. All right.
I'll be like a 90-50 blowout for you. More than that, 95.
All right. So yeah, that's it. It wasn't much today. Tomorrow, I think I'm gonna have the NBA spreadsheet finished tonight, which means starting tomorrow I can actually contribute to the NBA discussion rather than just like, what do you guys think? I actually will be able to start handicapping the games, which if you guys follow along last year, I get really into the NBA. I have a lot of fun. I had a good season, profitable season last year, so we'll get back into that. College
Can I
football.
say one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to say the bet that Kyle was talking about that I had a big bet on is Tulane. I played Tulane minus 7. Yeah, it is Tulane minus 7.5. Ken Palm makes this game 4. I think this game's not right now. I'm glad you got a Happy Meal. Ken Palm made this game minus 4. I think this is the season essentially is on the line for Ron Hunter and Tulane. They shot quality is said that they've won 4 or 5 of their 7 games. They're on a 3-game losing streak, including the number 346 New Orleans in overtime. Now they're at home against an absolutely terrible Southeastern Louisiana team who's played a decent schedule. I will give them that. But coming off a pretty decent win against North Dakota, and now they have to travel here to Tulane. I think this is a get-right spot for Tulane. They should win by 10+.
All right. So, yeah, let's call it. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. Tonight, we're going to be uploading Penn State, Oregon. Throughout the week, we're going to start getting conference championship handicaps up for the weekend. It's conference championship weekend. So yeah, that'll be up. Someone asked if I am covering golf. Yeah, I mean, now that the season's getting back. Oh wait, I don't know. I got to text them. But yeah, we were doing the golf show. I'll do that again. I'm pretty sure the season ended or something though. I'm down to bring the golf guy back on. People like that. So yeah, see you all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, midnight stream tonight. There's college games for tomorrow. There's a decent slate. So tonight should be a cool midnight stream for those of you that are still awake at midnight Eastern time. Rod Z wants a Happy Meal, he said. All right.
It's Monday. They're on sale on the McDonald's app. $2.50 off.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be on a stream with you and you knowing that information.
I'm not. The guy's a hustler trying to save our viewers money. Everybody have a wonderful day.
Just trying to feed my family for a cheap price.
Our viewers are not buying Happy Meals.
You don't know that?
Why not?
I have more. I think our viewers are better. I hold our viewers in a higher regard.
All right.
Someone in the comments said they like the Tulane. Someone said, "Bro, 5 units Tulane for show."
Stay goated.
I got a full one. I'm in there one with you.
Are we just not doing the underdog?
Where is TWD? I gotta unmute TWD. He served this time.
You muted him?
I gotta mute that guy like every 14 days or so.
Keep him in check. Just keep him in check.
Dude, this last time he was literally like, Kyle doesn't really bet he went a mental break.
Well, since Andy brought it up, let's do the underdog. We have an underdog here.
Oh, go ahead.
It's Cortland Sutton, higher than 67.5 receiving yards. Jerome Ford, higher than 13.5 receiving yards. I like this one quite a bit. I'm feeling good about tonight. Yesterday, not the best. Thanksgiving and Black Friday was quite good. I think we're going to get back on track. The standalone games are my shit. Sundays, I don't know what the hell goes on. Maybe the volume gets to me. Who knows? Jameis Winston, higher than a half total yard, is the pick for any new customers. If you would like to sign up to fade me, to ride with me, I don't know, whatever you'd like to do, you can do so in one of these yellow states. Yeah, and the promo code? Well, it's BET, 3 EE letters. You know the deal. That's Underdog. Thank you all for watching. Have a blessed day, and remember to stay goated.
Cash God says you should add Jerry Judy receptions to your pick'em.
Well, that's the beautiful thing, Cash God. You can sign up with our friends at Underdog using the promo code BET, BET, 3 EE, or anybody could add Jerry Judy over receptions. Stay goated.